Yes, hello, welcome back. Today I have a decoupage candle tutorial for you. And so in this video, I'm going to talk you through how to make one of these. I don't know, for yourself, for a Christmas gift. I think that this would make a really cool Christmas gift for somebody special in your life. Or a few, you could make a few of them. I mean, this one only took me a little over an hour to make, to decorate, right? And if you made a few at a time, so you could definitely batch make these if you wanted to. And I mean, who doesn't like a handmade Christmas gift? Now, this one, as you can see, is an LED candle that I'm using here. Quick safety disclaimer. In case if you were planning to use a normal regular candle instead of an LED candle, please be safe if you're going to use real candles for this. I mean, I personally think that LED candles are a much better option, right? I mean, they're gonna last you a lot longer, and if you're planning to make these as gifts, right, they're safe. You don't have to worry about somebody burning their house down with all of the decorative pieces and everything. And especially if you was planning to gift it to somebody that maybe has children or pets, I think an LED candle is always a much safer option, right? And then they don't have to worry about either, you know, just a candle sitting there collecting dust because they can't burn it, or burning the candle and having to worry about, you know, it maybe not being the safest thing around. If you wanted to have a look at products, they're all going to be in the blog post for this on my website, which is here. And yeah, so with all of that being said, let's get started. Okay, so first thing you're gonna need is an LED candle. Check that it works. It will be very inconvenient if you decorate it and it doesn't work. So put in your batteries, check that it works. Then you're gonna want to grab your decoupage paper. In my case, I'm using Dainty and the Queen Winter's Dream rice paper from Decoupage Queen. This is one of my own designs that just came out, but you can use whatever paper you would like to. Napkins, other rice papers from other brands, transfers, a printout of your own papers, or whatever else you would like to use. If you choose to use rice papers, however, I would recommend first of all to remove all of the white edges around, especially if you're not too sure as to what parts of the paper you want to use just yet. So just use a clean brush, a little bit of water, go around the edges and remove them. Fraying them like this, in this kind of way, rather than cutting them, is going to make it a lot easier for you to blend things if you need to. Now, this is where I used that same clean brush and a little bit of water and went through the middle of my rice paper to separate it. So again, as you can see, instead of cutting it, I am fraying the paper and ripping it so that then the rice paper fibers stretch out a little bit, thus making it a lot easier for me to blend it further, making that separating line a lot kind of thinner, if you will. The reason why I chose to split my paper is because, I don't know, I thought that I might make another candle. I didn't in the end, but I thought, you know what, also, if you wanted to make two candles, you know, and you have one paper, here you go. You can make two candles, or you can decoupage two candles with just one paper. One half is going to be more than enough. Obviously, you could just use the whole paper and go the full length of the candle, but I chose to do it this way. Now, as you can see, when I wrap the paper around the candle, there is a bit of overhang, right? So you can see me here just playing around with it, seeing which part I want to get rid of and which part I want to keep. And then again, using that same fraying method, I apply a little bit of water over the overhang bit, rip it off, but I'm still at this point leaving a tiny little bit of extra paper to go over the edge, just in case if I then end up needing to, I don't know, stretch it out. You know, sometimes things happen and then you need that extra bit. It's easier to keep it on and remove it later than it is to remove it now and then try and reapply it back on. So once you've figured out your paper, how much you're going to need, where you're going to put it, and all of that kind of stuff, next step is to glue it down. In my case, I'm using Pentart Decoupage Varnish and glue in matte finish, but any other glue is going to be fine. I can't repeat this enough times. Any decoupage glue is going to be fine. Mod Podge is going to be fine. PVA glue is going to be fine. So whatever you have on hand, honestly, don't stress over it. Any glue is going to be fine. You're going to take your glue, you're going to apply a little bit onto the candle, and then you're going to put your paper on. Then you're going to put a little bit over the top of your paper. Now, if you're using other papers, not rice papers, you may experience creasing, right? Or bubbling and things like that. Now, those things are easy to take care of. There are things to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. However, I'm not going to go into it in this video, but if you are using napkins, for example, you can check out the card that's gonna pop up in the corner here somewhere right now for my video that I did on how to apply napkins so that you don't get creases. And so you're gonna go around your candle in tiny little sections, gluing down your paper from the bottom and then smoothing it out and then applying glue over the top all the way until you've like wrapped your paper all the way around. And this is where we need to take care of that last overhang bit. At this point, I don't want you to apply any glue underneath just yet. So don't glue that overhang bit over the top or anything like that. Take your clean brush, apply some water over it, right, and rip it off. Now that you have the rest of the paper glued down onto the candle, it's going to be very easy for you to rip off or fray off the exact amount of rice paper that you need to rip off. Now you can glue everything down and wait for it to dry, or use a heat tool or a hair dryer to help it dry a little bit quicker. Just be careful if you're using heat of any sort, because even though this is an LED candle, it does have a waxy base. We don't want to melt it. I mean, maybe you do, which is good for you, boo. I'm happy for you, but be careful. And then once you've waited patiently for your paper to dry, take a little piece of sandpaper. In my case, it's 120 grit sandpaper, but the finer the better, really. You don't want to add any extra scratches onto your candle. So take some sandpaper, clean off your edges. Always go in downwards motion rather than side to side or upwards, God forbid, downwards motion, and clean off any extras that you might have dangling off of the bottom part. If you do end up getting some scratches on that bottom part that you just sanded off, use a heat gun or just a little bit of heat right on those edges and then use your finger to smooth it out. Again, it's wax, so we want to make the most out of that malleable material that it is. Now we can move on to blending. So blending that ripped off edge in the middle of the candle. If you choose to apply paper over your whole candle, then you can skip this step. Absolutely. You can also go with other things like molds or liquid pearls or contour liner or just twine or ribbon. I don't know. There's plenty of different things that you can do, right, to hide that edge. In my case, though, I chose to go with just white chalk paint. This is white chalk paint from Wilko's and a cut up kitchen sponge that I'm using here. So as you can see, I'm holding my sponge in almost like a ball shape, taking a little bit of paint with it, dabbing it off on my plate, and then in very light motion going up and down the candle. Again, going in a little bit heavier on the edge of the paper so that we layer a little bit more paint, and then lightening up the touch, fading it out towards both ends. You can play around with this however you want to. As you can see, I'm also going over the bottom edge and the top edge, adding a little bit of white. That's a matter of personal preference, but really the most important thing to keep in mind when you're doing this kind of blending with a sponge is to start out with a light touch. It's better to do 3 or 4 layers if needed, rather than to go in very heavy and then end up with blobs of paint and having to take everything off and ruining your piece and having to start again. So this is where you want to take your time, go in a little bit slower, and build it up gradually. When you're done with paint, you're going to want to leave it to dry so that when you move on to your next step, you don't leave your fingerprints all over the place. Leave it to dry, Then grab yourself some twine or jute or ribbon, or I mean, you can absolutely skip this step as well if you would like to. But yeah, grab yourself some jute, mess around with it if you want to for like ages, like I did. I had to cut out some of the footage because it took me at least like 10 minutes to figure out how much twine I wanted to add. Ridiculous, I know, but it is what it is. I even made that little tag that you saw me put on there with some of that leftover rice paper that we had, and wrote Merry Christmas on it, tied it into a bow, and again, at this point you could leave it if you want to. I decided to take it that extra step and applied some of that white chalk paint over jute string to make it look more snowy, more festive, I guess, more frosty. And once again, this could have been the end of it if you wanted to. Again, at this point it looks absolutely fine, and you could definitely skip the next step and leave it be as is. But again, well, you know, more is more in my books. So I added some Finnaba's Snowflake Effect paste, which is my absolute favorite snow effect paste ever. And I'm so happy that I finally get to use it again. It's that time of the year again. It can come out. Anywho, this is basically just a white paste that once it dries, it kind of keeps that shape that you give it, and it has some glitter added inside of it. So I went around my candle, just over the top of the candle and the jute string, dragging it up and down, following the direction of that chalk paint that I dabbed on earlier. Like I said before, you can absolutely skip this step if you do not have this product. However, if you can afford this product and you already have it, absolutely use it, yes. And then, because it's never enough glitter for me personally, I used some extra transparent glitter from Finnabar and sprinkled it over snowflake paste while it was still wet, so that it would stick in there, right, and then it doesn't go flying everywhere as soon as you pick up the candle. And that is it. That's the finished candle. Thank you so much for sitting through my blabbering this whole time. Also, the background noises. I do realize that there's probably quite a bit of weird background noises. We have a hamster now, so just so you know, I'm recording this at night and that's her active time, so that's what's going on in the background, okay? I'm not holding anybody hostage over here, I promise. Anywho, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that this was inspiring for you, and I hope that you will also make 1 or 2 or 100 of these. I would love to see. Give them to everybody. A candle for you, a candle for you, a candle for everybody. And yes, check out the description of this video for a link to all of the products that we used. It's going to be over on my blog. And yeah, if you would like to connect, subscribe, and see more of this kind of stuff, you know what to do. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have the most wonderful, amazing day, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully. Okay, bye!